and bloom.
All right. Welcome to Be in Bloom, the podcast about presence and lifelong becoming. Last episode, we explored the art of being. Today, we go deeper into what happens when we're alone with ourselves. Solitude isn't just a season we pass through after change or loss. It is a daily practice, a sacred return to self. This episode explores how solitude becomes the sacred ground for presence, inner trust, and soft power. This topic feels especially meaningful to me now as I've been in a season of self-renewal and singlehood. I will be sharing 3 personal stories, each revealing a layer of what solitude has taught me. It was family weekend during my first year on campus. The dorms, quads, and dining halls buzzed with parents, siblings, and relatives, taking photos, bringing food, filling the air with laughter and love. I was still on campus like everyone else. The only difference was my family wasn't. I don't know if families were sent official notices or if students just told them to come, but I wasn't used to mine showing up for things like that. Until that weekend, I didn't realize that was different. Not only did that weekend spotlight my physical aloneness, it also revealed something deeper. The dynamics I grew up with, marked by absence, estrangement, and emotional distance, were not universal. I remember feeling lonely, different, left out, like something was wrong with me. Watching how families showed up for each other made the fractures in my own story more visible. My roommates and their families invited me to join them. At first, I felt too heavy, like I needed to tend to the sadness before I could carry myself into anything else. So I laid back in bed. I let myself cry and feel the grief of togetherness that I felt I lacked. That quiet decision to feel first was a kind of presence, a kind of care. Without knowing it, I was validating my pain, giving it space. Part of me wanted to stay in bed all day, but another part of me craved connection and warmth. So eventually, I got up, and I joined them, and I'm glad I did. Years after college, I went through a quieter shift that not many people could see. I began to pull away from church. I've always held a deep relationship with God, but I realized that the expectations of others were starting to speak louder than my own spirit. I felt something in me asking for space to hear myself again. Part of what made that time confusing was feeling like I had to compartmentalize. Like I was living 2 lives, one inside church walls and another outside of them. That split started to feel dishonest. Not because I was doing anything wrong, but because I was performing what people expected, even if it no longer felt like my truth. For a while, I wore the label of Christian as a kind of armor, or a badge, maybe even a band-aid. It gave me belonging. It gave me a way to feel lovable, shiny, and protected. Saying it made me feel safe, not just spiritually, but socially. But over time, I realized I was clinging to the label more than the life underneath it. The longer I stayed in that performance, the further I felt from myself. Letting go of my routine was terrifying. It felt like I was walking away from my identity, my community, and even my worth. But what I gained in return was my voice and the volume of my internal guidance. A spiritual intimacy I hadn't known before. One that didn't require performance, only presence. Solitude gave me that space. It became the beginning of deep inner trust, not just in God, but in myself. I no longer needed constant confirmation, not from pastors, not from prophets, just quiet alignment with my own spirit. Inner space. The deepest solitude I've ever known came after ending a relationship that left me bare. It was a slow loss of myself. When I left, I grieved the relationship, but more than that, I grieved me. The versions who stayed, the one who forgot who she was. The very next day, the job I once called a dream ended too. Suddenly, I wasn't just heartbroken. I was unemployed, alone, and sitting in silence with the version of me that survived. I didn't know who I was anymore. I applied for jobs obsessively. It was like screaming into the void. Nothing came back. I always thought hustling was the answer, but it only left me exhausted. I had poured all my energy into proving I was enough, and it still didn't feel like enough. So I stopped. I faced the quiet. It was hauntingly quiet in the beginning. But the call to be still hummed softly from breath to breath. It became a quiet that didn't feel like absence, but presence. I didn't recognize it at first. But with every day that I stayed, and every layer I shed, I came home to her, to me, and she didn't have to do anything to be enough. I used to think that season was punishment, like maybe God was disappointed in me. But I've come to learn that God was showing me I am enough as I am. I don't need to perform. I don't need to explain. I can be mysterious. I can be misunderstood and still be whole. That season taught me to self-validate, to move with intention when I had no energy or money, to make peace with silence, not as absence, but as powerful presence. I didn't know how long it would last, but I know I couldn't rush through it just to avoid discomfort. I had to stop running, to face the patterns I wasn't willing to look at before. So, I thanked every part of me that helped me survive. The versions of me that tried so hard to be good, to fix, to be enough. She did her best. And now, I'm doing mine. These days, solitude looks different. It's not born from crisis. It's chosen. I've taken myself to concerts, booked hotel stays when I craved a reset, played music, dancing in my kitchen like nobody is watching, tried new recipes, savoring every bite, journaled to stay close to myself, turn skincare into ritual. And sometimes I simply rest, because I don't have to earn time with myself. I deserve it just by being. Solitude for me is not about being without others. It's about being with me. I still get lonely. I still feel an ache for community and partnership. But I don't run from it, because I know how to stay. I trust that what is for me will never require me to leave myself again. Solitude reminds me that I lack nothing. It's not a void to escape, but a fullness I can carry into my relationships. If you're in a season of solitude, by choice or circumstance, I want to remind you, you are not broken. You're being invited. Solitude is not emptiness. It is a return to inner fullness, a quiet becoming, the soil where presence, inner trust, and soft power take root. You are your lifelong companion. Learn to enjoy your own company. Stay rooted. Keep rising. Be and boom.